As you know, some of you know, I was born in the Middle East, Lebanon. And I want to tell you, I am the only provincial member of parliament of Arabic background. And I could sense you're proud of me, and I am proud of you. May I say how I am pleased to be with you. I am proud of you, as I said, and I am proud of our culture. Proud to contribute to the dynamic life of Ontario. I am proud of our contribution to the economic being of Ontario. And since my pal Al didn't show up, I would like to read to you the message from the Premier. Thank you very much for your kind invitation to attend the National Convention of the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam. In Arabic, I call it the Islam. On June 21st to 23rd, 1996. Unfortunately, my schedule does not permit me to attend this important event. It's my pleasure as the Premier of Ontario, however, to extend my personal greetings and warm best wishes to you and all to the participants in this convention. As the Premier of Ontario, I salute His Holiness Mazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, the head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, who will open your convention. The Muslim community of Ontario is a vibrant one which has contributed greatly to the life of our province and our country. Your traditions and values have enriched all culturally, spiritually, and economically. Your convention will do much to help promote greater understanding among our citizens of the unique heritage of Muslim believers, especially the great leadership role in international peace and cooperation that's fulfilled by the Ahmadiyya movement in Muslim and Islam. On behalf of Ontario, once again, please accept my best wishes to you and all the participants in your convention for what I know will be an enjoyable, profitable time, and signed by Mike Harris, the Honorable Mike Harris, Premier of Ontario. Assalamu alaikum, Allahu Akbar. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Now I would like to invite another guest who is very well known to the members of the community, not only in Canada but also around the globe, because he has participated in some of our conventions in the past, and especially his speech on the centenary convention at London, UK, was many a time broadcasted and televised around the globe. And when I was coming to the marquee, I could see that a lot of people recognized him, and they said, yes, we have seen you. And some of them were not from Canada. He is the former Minister of Immigration and presently the Federal Minister of Environment, Mr. Sergio Marchi. Sergio?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Your Holiness, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers. Actually, the first time that happened to me, I was mentioning to His Holiness, I thought I said something wrong, but obviously it is a testimony to the feeling of friendship that abounds in this tent this morning. Let me say that on behalf of the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Jean Chrétien, my colleague from Edmonton, Member of Parliament John Loney, who is with us here this morning as well, that he wanted to extend a very warm welcome to His Holiness on his visit to Canada, a country that he is coming to know quite well, and it is always an honor for Canada to have His Holiness amongst us. He also sends his regards to the other visitors from the four corners of the globe who chose to come to Canada for this three-day convention, and he extends his warmest greetings and regards to all the participants as well as to all the many volunteers that is the foundation for any kind of event of this magnitude. He has asked me to read a letter, and with your indulgence I will. It reads as follows. I am delighted to convey my warmest greetings to everyone participating in the National Convention of the Ahmadiyya Movement in Islam Canada being held in Maple in the city of Vaughan. Canadians take great pride in celebrating our individuality and at the same time are unified by our shared ideals and values. The preservation and enhancement of heritage and culture are unique to Canada's vision of nationhood. This gathering provides you with an opportunity to honor your faith and promote understanding through the reaffirmation of tradition. Please accept my best wishes for a most enjoyable and successful convention. Signed, the Right Honorable Jean Chrétien, June of 1996. On a more personal note, it is again a pleasure for me to be under your tent of friendship. And after listening to Nassim Mehdi, who has become a telecommunications expert in his own right, through the magic of telecommunications, which I still can't understand very well, this sense of friendship, this sense of fraternity is being beamed to other tents across the world. And how fitting that is. How fitting as well that this three-day convention, international convention, be taking place in Canada. On one of his other visits, His Holiness talked about Canada in a very glowing way. And he expressed one of his wishes, which I thought was so apropos, when he said that he wishes for Canada to become the world and for the world to become Canada. So appropriate, because not as a Canadian should we be saying that we are a model of perfection and challenges and problems free, because we have our share of challenges, but nonetheless a model that we are very proud of and a model that we think should be exported to the world. A model that is built on freedom to assemble. A model that is built on freedom of religious worship. A model that is built on a sense of tolerance and understanding. And that is why I think it's so apropos when His Holiness spoke in those terms when he referred to Canada. And while this is being beamed into the many tents around the world where Ahmadiyyas are congregating, it should also be a message, a strong message, to the tents around the world that are built on indignity, on the tents around the world that are not built on fraternity, to the tents around the world that are not built on a sense of tolerance and sharing and understanding. And so it is my hope, and I know it is your hope, that those tents built on indignity, through congregations like this one, may those tents come collapsing to the floor sooner rather than later. May peace be with you.
Thank you for this beautiful message and your wonderful speech. Short and sweet and effective. Thanksgiving. Submit my desires and personal thanks to Sunday. कसीदा कौन पढ़ रहा है ये बात है तुम्हारे से बोली गवर्नर है Now I invite Adil bin Saad for reciting a qasida, eulogy in praise of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa
sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يقول إمام الزمان الإمام المهدي المسيح الموعود والمهدي المعهود مرزا غلام أحمد عليه السلام في تقديمه لقصيدته التي يمدح فيها محمد بن عبد الله
صلى الله عليه وسلم
النبي المصطفى والمجتبى صلى الله عليه وسلم. يقول: هذه القصيدة أنيقة رشيقة مملوءة من اللطائف الأدبية والفرائد العربية في مدح سيدي وسيد الثقلين خاتم النبيين محمد
صلى الله عليه وسلم.
خاتم النبيين محمد الذي وصفه الله في الكتاب المبين. اللهم صل وسلم عليه إلى يوم الدين. اللهم صل وسلم عليه إلى يوم الدين. اللهم صل وسلم عليه إلى يوم الدين.
آمين.
وليست هذه من قريحة الجامدة وفتنة الخامدة، وما كانت روية الناضبة ضليع هذا المضمار ومنبع تلك الأسرار، بل كل ما قلت فهو من ربي الذي هو قريني ومؤيدي، الذي هو معي في كل حين، الذي يطعمني ويسقيني، وإذا ضللت فهو يهديني، وإذا مرضت فهو يشفيني. ما كسبت شيئا من ملح الأدب ونوادره، ولكن جعلني الله غالبا على قادره. وهذه آية من ربي لقوم يعلمون، وهذه آية من ربي لقوم يعلمون، وإني أظهرتها وبينتها لعلي أجزي جزاء الشاكرين. ولا الحق بالذين لا يشكرون، ولا الحق بالذين لا يشكرون، ولا الحق بالذين لا يشكرون. والألفان يسعى إليك، يسعى إليك، يسعى إليك الخلق كالظمآن. يا بحر فضل المنعم المنان، يا بحر فضل تهوي إليك الزمر بالكيزان يا شمس ملك الحسن والإحسان يا شمس ملك الحسن يا شمس ملك الحسن والإحسان نورت وجه البر نورت وجه البر والعمران قوم رأوك وأمة قد أخبرت قوم رأوك وأمة قد أخبرت من ذلك البدر الذي أصبان يبكون من ذكر الجمال صبابة يبكون من ذكر الجمال صبابة وتألما من نوعة الهجران وأرى القلوب لدى الحناجر كربة وأرى القلوب تصيدها العينان يا من غدا في نوره وضيائه كالنيرين ونور الملوان يا بدرنا يا آية الرحمن أهدى الهداة وأشجع الشجعان
الله
حضرت محمد مصطفى
صلى الله عليه وسلم
حضرت محمد مصطفى مرزا غلام احمد کی حضرت محمد مصطفى نعرہ تکبیر يا بدرنا يا آية الرحمن أهدى الهداة وأشجع الشجعان إني أرى في وجهك المتهلل شأنا يفوق شمائل الإنسان يا رب صلي على نبيك دائما يا ربي صلي على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني نعرہ تکبیر حضرت محمد مصطفى حضرت محمد مصطفى مرزا غلام احمد کی نعرہ تکبیر يا ربي صل على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني يا سيدي قد جئت بابك لاهفا والقوم بالإكفار قد آذاني يفري سهامك قلب كل محارب ويشج عزمك هامة الثعبان لله درك يا إمام العالمين الرحمن انظر إلي برحمة وتحنن يا سيدي أنا أحقر الغلمان يا حب إنك قد دخلت محبة في مهجتي ومداركي وجناني يا حب إنك قد دخلت محبة في مهجتي ومداركي وجناني من ذكر وجهك يا حديقة بهجتي من ذكر وجهك يا حديقة بهجتي لم أخلو في لحظ ولا في آن جسمي يطير إليك جسمي يطير إليك جسمي يطير إليك من شوق على يا ليت كانت قوة الطيران يا رب صل على نبيك دائما يا رب صل على نبيك دائما في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني في هذه الدنيا وبعث ثاني اللهم صل وسلم
Jazakumullah. Now the translation will be read by Asim Khan. Asim Khan, please.
In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This qasida, which has just been recited before you, is a poem in praise of the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and was written by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, the promised Messiah, peace be upon him. He himself introduced the qasida as follows. This is an ode of great elegance and grace. It is complete with incomparably precious literary gems of the Arabic language. It is written in praise of my leader and the leader of both worlds, the seal of prophets, Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, whom Allah has praised in his glorious book. O Allah, forward upon him until the day of judgment your boundless blessings and peace. This qasida is not a product of my static disposition or of my unimaginative intelligence, nor have my dry thoughts played any role in putting forward these propositions. Rather, all that I have said in this ode is given to me from my Lord, who is my companion and my helper, and who stays with me at all times. I am referring to the very God who provides for my sustenance and who guides me to my destination and who heals me from my sickness. Whatever elegant, precious, or unique qualities that are present in this qasida, I have not achieved as a result of any personal diligence or hard work. But nonetheless, through this qasida, God Almighty has made me victorious over those who are better versed in Arabic than myself. And this victory is a tremendous sign for those that possess knowledge. I have only mentioned this so that I am included among those who are thankful and not among those who are unthankful. The qasida now begins. O you who are the fountain of Allah's munificence and perfect understanding of Allah. People rush towards you thirstily. O you who are the ocean of God's grace, who is the bestower of favors, exceedingly beneficent. Hordes of thirsty people hurry towards you, holding bowls in their hands. O you who are the son of the spiritual kingdom of beauty and grace, you have spiritually illuminated the inhabitants of the deserts as well as the cities. A group of people was fortunate that they saw you, while others simply heard about you. The enchantingly beautiful full moon which has cast a spell over me. Inspired by your love, O Holy Prophet, people tearfully recall your beauty, and their aching hearts are afire due to being distant from you. I see that their hearts are beating in such anxiety as if they have reached their throats. And I see that their grieving eyes shed tears. O you, whose divine light and luminescence has rendered him like the twin luminaries, the sun and the moon, lighting up day as well as night. O our full moon, O sign of the gracious God, O you who are the greatest spiritual guide, the bravest among the brave. I certainly see such glory in your sparkling face, which transcends all known human attributes. O my Lord, shower your eternal blessings on your Prophet, in this life as well in the next. O Holy Prophet, my spiritual master, I have surely come to your door complaining that your followers have hurt me deeply by declaring me a disbeliever. O Holy Prophet, your arrows pierce through the heart of every rival warrior, and the strength of your resolve crushes the head of a serpent. That is, you were a man of great determination. May Allah bless you, O leader of the world. You rank the highest and are the bravest leader of the brave. Please glance towards my humble self with mercy and kindness. O my spiritual master, I am the lowliest one among your humble servants. O my beloved, your love has certainly penetrated my soul, my mind, and my heart. O my garden of spiritual delights, I am ever so absorbed in your fond thoughts and from the remembrance of your blessed face. I am not free, even for a moment or splitting second. My body is craving to fly towards you due to my enormous longing for you, O Holy Prophet. I wish I actually had the capacity and power to fly.
Narae Takbir, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad ki, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad ki, Narae Takbir.
अलम इनामी के लिए अनाउंस कर दें अलम इनामी का। हाँ बुलाएं तो
वालेकुम
वालेकुम
It is the tradition of Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya to award Al-Maynami, which is the award a Majlis can win, and it is the highest award of Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya, and it is awarded to the best Majlis, that is youth branch in the country, which has performed exceptionally well throughout the year. By the grace of Allah, many Majalis have worked hard for this competition, and 4 Majalis have qualified for the competition. This year, the competition was very close, and the top 3 Majalis trailed very closely. I will now announce the results. The top Majlis is the Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Scarborough, and they have won the Al-Maynami. Number 2 position is Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Malton, and number 3 position is Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Calgary, and 4th position is Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Weston. I will request very humbly to our dear Huzur to please award the Al-Maynami and certificates to the winning Majalis. First of all, I will request the Qaid Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya, Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Scarborough, Brother Rafiq Qamar Sahab, to come and receive the Al-Maynami.
Barakallahu lakum. This is your certificate. Barakallah.
The second position is Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Malton. I will request the Qaid Majlis, Mirza Nasir Ahmad, to come and receive the certificate.
Assalamu alaikum. Barakallahu lakum.
The third position is Majlis Qudam al-Ahmadiyya Calgary. I will request the Qaid Majlis, Brother Ijaz Ahmad, to come and receive the certificate from Huzur.
Assalamu alaikum. Barakallahu lakum.
Jazakumullah Huzur.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. Our honorable guest, the personal representative of the finalists of Canada, Sergio Marchi, who also is here in another capacity of my personal friend of a long standing, and the kindest of the mayors of Canada who is here with us, all the ladies and gentlemen, I have chosen to recite some verses of the Holy Quran which are often quoted in relation to the art of preaching, how you should carry out the preaching and what should be the purpose of preaching. But these verses of the Quran have another message, not only for the Muslims of the world, how to put their message across to the world, but also these verses address the whole of mankind and draw their attention to the importance of returning to God and calling the people to the path of God. It is in that second meaning, that second connotation of the verses that I am going to address you this afternoon, or this pre-noon, whatever the time. The time doesn't matter anyway, because this address is being heard and seen all over the world at different times. So we share this 24 hours today here in these moments. The verses which I have recited before you can be translated as simply as what I am going to do now. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ, who is more beautiful in his word than the one who calls to the path of Allah. وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا, provided his own act is also righteous and beautiful. If he is righteous of his own deed, only then his word to call towards the Allah will acquire its sense of beauty, otherwise not. So if you call to the path of Allah and you are own righteous yourself, then something is bound to follow. And that is what is the central part of this message. La tastawi al-hasanatu wala sayyi'ah. The goodness and evil cannot be alike. They don't have the same weight, same value. So different. Idfa billati hi ahsan. To continue to remove evil with the help of the beauty. With the help of beauty and beauteous, remove evil. That is the only way that you can convert your enemies into friends who will share their lives upon you. Now we live in a world of competition and jealousies. We live in a world of growing uncertainties and concerns for the peace of the world. And I believe, and I am deeply convinced, that whatever your religion be who are listening to this address, whatever be your race, your color, your creed, this message is universal and it applies to you particularly, whoever is addressed. Because no religion is mentioned here whatsoever. It is not said that whoever calls to the path of Islam, his word is beautiful. It only declares whoever calls to the path of Allah, his word is beautiful. That is the common, the central point in every religion, around which revolve all the teachings of all religions. Allah, God, Paramatma, Vaheguru, by whatever name you call him, his name is all beautiful. So to call towards the path of Allah is highly essential for the survival of mankind today. But in what manner? That is what I am going to explain to you, that this verse is so comprehensive and so universal in its application that without reference to any religion, it conveys the message of peace to all mankind alike. Falling through the path of Allah can be understood in the sense that each member of every religion should begin to call to his own religion, believing that to be the path. That is a completely different area of the application of this verse, which I am not going to take up this afternoon, at this time, this moment in the 24 hours of the world. What I want to point out is that man today is riddled with problems which present a very ominous future to mankind as a whole. To believe that we can fight out among ourselves for our respective rights and establish peace in the world is absolutely false. It's a fool's dream and no more of that. You cannot fight out to gain peace. Only you can struggle and strive in the cause of goodness to achieve or to hope to achieve peace. There is no other way. And this is one most important, central, pivotal point for establishing the world peace. Herein lies the very key to the world problem, which key as such is ignored. It's not respected. No one pays real attention to this key. I've been here before many times, and some cities of Canada offered me their keys. And I respected them, I kissed them, I loved them. But the key I am offering, nobody cares for. While it is a reality, it's a hard reality, that is the only key which can solve the world problems today. But I will explain how. How would you call towards Allah, towards God? And in what way can it be used, can it serve a useful purpose for the whole of mankind? Politics is secular in the world. It is secular in a good sense as well as in a bad sense. It is secular in good sense because whenever politics is secular, it does not interfere in the domain of religion. And what follows is a total freedom, uninterrupted freedom of the right of people to worship God as they please and to convey their message across to the rest of the world. As far as that aspect is concerned, I know, I've experienced it, Canada has achieved it. But there is more to it than that. It's not just a freedom of choice that I'm talking about. Politics is secular in the wrong sense of the word. Politics seems to be totally unconcerned with the religious messages and the morality which is offered by religion. If politics is unconcerned about the ideological fights, about the dogmas and what ensues out of the struggle or mad struggle for winning from converts to one's dogma, that's okay, that's fine. But not to be concerned with the moral messages of religion, not to be interested in the moral teachings of all religions which are common and universal. That is what is not right about politics. And unless we introduce this new element into the world politics, there can be no hope of peace whatsoever. And it's not just a dogmatic claim, I can prove it. Politics is secular, but politics is not just. Politics is secular, but it's not universal. Universality can be added to politics only through universal principles of morality. And that is what the politician does not care for, and that is what the politician thinks that he is unconcerned with, because if he is a true politician, he must look inwards towards the interests of his own people. So every politician, through a system, not through his own fault, has two faces. One inward-looking face and one outward-looking face. And there is such a paradox between the two, such a paradox between the two faces. It is the duty of a politician to be loyal to the cause of his people. That is all right, it's fine and good. But it's also his duty to remain loyal to the cause of his own people, even at the cost of the cause of other people. Even if the dictates of justice require you to favor the cause of another country rather than the country where you live, still the loyalty of the politicians are fixed only in one single direction. And this is another aspect of secularism which is so disturbing, which stands in the way of such the principle of peace. You may have heard many a time American presidents declare with the loudest of their voices, which have heard all over the world, that now we are going to usher a new era of world order. A new era of world order, loud words, tall words. But what is the world order? Is it a total domination of Americans over the rest of the world? Is it an order of enforced peace, whereby the weak nation will have no choice but to follow the dictates of a powerful people and follow the dictates to the very tunes they play? New definitions are made of justice here and there, and it's always variable, because it's not based on religious principles. Justice changes its definition in trade, in application to the situation of wealth crisis. It changes its definition in application to the situation of Palestine. It changes its definition in situation to the South American and Central American states. It changes its definition in application to the Eastern European politics, and particularly in relation to Bosnian problems. It goes on changing definition from time to time, and it's amazing how this generally goes on in the name of honor, in the name of justice, in the name of the world peace. And none raises his voice against it. It's a hollow game. We are just like puppets whose strings are being drawn by unseen faces behind the political facade. When shall we wake to the reality of life? And how shall we change the face of politics so that it becomes universal? There are no two faces to politics, just one. Unless we achieve this purpose, this noble goal, it is impossible to establish any world order in the world. The Holy Quran offers a solution, and in fact the only solution which is workable is draw their attention that unless you call mankind to Allah, no problems which humans are facing can be ever resolved. It does not speak of any religion. This is the most important point. It doesn't say that unless you become Muslim, unless you become Sikh or Hindu or Christian or Jew or whatever name you call yourself by, the world problems will not be solved. No religion is mentioned by way of solving our world problems. Only we fall to the path of Allah. how can the politicians join this struggle or this holy war against evil, against the universal common interest of man? That is what has been explained in the following verses. And what are the ways of Allah? To which God will you fall? Let me begin with this. You are, shall I remove it or shall I go backward? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Will it be all right now? You can hear me all right? Okay. Now this is the pivotal point I'm coming to. What do you mean by calling to Allah? How do we know what Allah is? By which religion we shall learn? To this the Holy Quran has already answered that before the creation, in the very nature of man, God had imprinted the universal concept of God. And he has only to refer to his own inner self, to his own conscience, to know what God is. God is beauty, God is goodness. And every man knows what beauty is and what goodness is. All the attributes of God are familiar to you because they are the same attributes he has imprinted upon your own nature. When you see truth, it always affects you. When you see beauty, you are gravitated towards beauty by natural law. So the beauty is the name of attributes of God. And those attributes are familiar to the entire mankind, regardless of their geographical positions, belongings, countries, races, etc., etc. Now, what is God in that sense, in the sense of universality? He's true. He's compassionate. He's loving. He cares for those who cannot care for themselves. He's just and absolutely just. Yet he's kind and forgiving. Now, these are the elements of goodness which can be introduced into any politics without compromising the politician's position to be secular. Because in this sense we are talking of secular values which are not clothed in any religion, not clothed under any name. They're just values common to man, universally the same. So it is that to which I am inviting you. And the Holy Quran, when it says, come back to Allah and call to Allah, means that all the goodness you think God is, all the attributes of God which you believe must be his attributes because you yourself respect these attributes here in this world. But you only respect them when they are on your right side. You know that they are still worthy of respect when they are on your wrong side. But then you reject them. So your conscience tells you that you are making a wrong decision. Because they are same attributes which you love intrinsically, intuitively. They are born in you. You live with them and you want everybody to behave to you exactly as if God was treating you with his beautiful attributes. If somebody deals with you or has a deal in any area of human interest, in politics, in economics, in other social aspects of human life, if he's true to you, you love him to be true. There is no hesitation whatsoever. If he's honest, you love him to be honest. If he's kind to you, if he's forgiving, if he helps you while in the areas where you need help, it's impossible for you to reject that in the name of secularism. These are moral attitudes, they are godly attitudes, we do not care for them. If you do that, that will be madness. So I'm asking you to return from madness to wisdom, because it becomes really infective madness in man when he deals with rival nations, rival interests, rival groups, where he prefers to be dealt with by the attributes of God in his case, but at the same time he prefers to deal others without those attributes, because you have to pay for them, you have to offer sacrifices. So this is my message to you and to the whole world. Return to the attributes of God, which are universal, which are not prejudicial in any form. And without this awakening, this wisdom, which is universal and everlasting, you cannot resolve any human problem, however loud you may claim to be a magician in resolving human problems. No power on earth can do that. It's impossible. Unless all power returns to absolute justice. Unless all power returns to absolute morality in every form. But where is that absolute justice? How to resolve this problem? The politicians are not mad, we know that. They're very wise people, or they wouldn't have risen to the levels where they have risen. But sometimes at the cost of morality as well. So this is a bargaining world where the selfish interests rule, where moralities are only to be accepted and to be respected when they are on your side, but never when they are on the side of your opponent. This is the dilemma. This is the crisis of the world which we are facing today. And the Holy Quran reminds you that this should be corrected, without which nothing will be done. The ultimate purpose mentioned in the verses I have just quoted is to turn your enemies into friends. How can you go about it? How can you do it? So there is no enmity left. If there is enmity left, then humans are crooked in their basic attitude to life. Despite the fact that it is goodness for which humans were created, but because of their choice, because of the havoc which is played by ego upon human goodness, in the ultimate analysis, man emerges as an immoral animal. And that is what was taken note of by Karl Marx. That is where he laid his first brick of scientific socialism. He believed that human affairs cannot be corrected, cannot be stabilized, unless those factors which are responsible for rivalry, for ups and downs of the society, they're completely eradicated. Unless man is leveled down to one single base without ups and downs. Because man is immoral, if there are differences of levels, he would always try to pull down those who are above him and rise up even on the heads of others. This is what he saw, and to this extent he was quite right. But to treat the immorality in man with a system which was immoral was a contradiction in terms. It could not have happened. No system in the world can work without morality. This is which was conveniently forgotten by Karl Marx. And it is for that oblivion of his that the communism world had to pay dearly for the lack of morality. People say it is communism which has failed. I say no. Communism also had inherent weaknesses, of course I know. But it was the morality, lack of morality, which were responsible for the downfall of the communist empire. Because the custodians of communism were immoral, they were selfish, and the power of which they were custodians, they utilized that power selfishly and immorally. If they had not done so, what we have seen happening to the Berlin Wall would not have happened. It would have been a different world of communism, which certainly would come to collapse later on, but not now, as soon as we have seen. So returning to the issue of what is the crux of the problem, how can we resolve it? The Holy Quran reminds us to return to the concept of God. Here, in this sense, I am treating this verse not from the point of view of preaching, but from the point of view of calling man back to God. How can the politician be called back to God? There is a problem he faces. And even if he is convinced of the truth of what I am saying, in sincerity with which I am saying it, it is impossible for any politician of the world to return to absolute morality and to God. Because economy rules politics all over the world. Economy dictates terms to politics. And as long as man is selfish, and man is selfish, it's impossible for him to ignore the economic interest of his own country in the name of any morality. And that is where the problem arises. That is where the problem is now deepening. And yet people do not say the writing on the wall. A new world has already emerged out of the ruins of the old one. Things are changing. New alliances are in the offing. New groupings are being made. All for the fear of economic factors to be on the side of the nations or on the other side of the nations. The dictating term is only economic. All through the history of man's war, all through the history of colonization of European powers and the rest of the world, it was economy and economy alone which played a role, and the most pivotal role. So if economy is dishonest, if economy is without morality, if economy knows no unselfishness, if it is ego which commands human economy, then just a sermon on goodness, however powerful that may be, will certainly fail to bring about a change in the political system of the world. To talk of justice you may, but how will you bring justice to become a valid fund in human affairs? I'm turning to that part now. It is time for us to realize that in this world of competition, the economies now are prospering because of capitalist system. So don't exert overmuch on the so-called victory of capitalism over communism. You are in for surprises, because capitalism has also inherent defects. Any financial system built on individuality or interest is bound to lead to world economic crisis. I don't want to build this aspect further in detail, but all of you, the guests as well as the host, are quite educated and intelligent, I know that. So I hope you will get the message that the economy, the worst enemy of the world is the economy built on the system of usury and interest. It is that system of capitalism which leads the world again and again to a universal financial crisis, which is bound to end up in global warming. and you can't gainsay this. It's impossible to reject it. Look back at the history of the First World War. Go beyond the history of the First World to the causes which resulted in the First Global War and the Second Global War. You'll always notice a preceding economic crisis the world over. And that economic crisis is a direct result of the system of capitalism which is based on utility and interest. It plays havoc with your peace and your security, your industry and your commerce. And because you're short-sighted, made short-sighted because for the factor of your ego, for your immediate interest. Now this is the most ugly part that ego plays in human life. Ego is short-sighted. It wants to have something now and here, and does not care to look beyond in time as to what results would follow of this egoistic attitude of man. Again, I would like to be brief, but the subject is very vast, and you have to be convinced of what I am telling you. Otherwise just when I tell you, come, return to God, will be meaningless. You are sitting on a bar which you are severing on the wrong side. It is bound to fall. You have seen it happen many a time before. You will see it happen tomorrow again. If you don't realize the folly of repeating the mistakes which have always led the world into global and horrendous war. Now here, how the economy can be rectified is something which at the present is beyond the power of the economists and the politicians, even to attempt to rectify. Because the entire global system is based on capitalist philosophy of interest, which in turn is based on the false idea that the money which is accumulated and left idle, it must grow. While they forget that money cannot grow without being wedded to a human faculty. It can grow as well as it can lose value. So this second part, the second reality, is not yet born upon the minds of the world economists. They continue to treat money as if it must grow. That is why whatever you deposit in the bank, that must grow. Whatever you borrow from the bank must grow for the sake of the bank. But that is done without justice, because the lending hand is more powerful. Receiving hand is less powerful. So in capital system, it is the banks which dictate the terms. And the society as such is always on the wrong receiving end. But again, this is something which has to be elaborated at quite some length, and for that we don't have time. But to try to be brief, I assure you that as long as the economy is run on the interest basis, there is no hope for mankind whatsoever. It's not pessimism, it's realism. Imagine what you do with yourself to your own people and to your own economy and to your own future. By giving opportunity to your citizens to spend what they have not earned as yet, to borrow from their future at a high cost. This is exactly what the current economic system of the world is. Through banks, a man has the opportunity to borrow, not from the bank, but from his own future, because he has to pay back to the bank what he would earn in the future. and much more than that, what he is lent, what he receives from the bank. It multiplies. It is responsible to do that multiply. Now, when you make a cross-section of such a society, you immediately realize that the entire Western economy in particular, and the subsequent economies of the world also, are made enriched and flourishing. To look at least, when the banks lend money to those who spend money, they increase their buying power. And with that increase of the buying power, your industry flourishes, your economy flourishes, and you see suddenly a boom in the economic activity. Everybody is so happy. I want a fridge, I want a deep freezer, I want a microwave oven, and what not. But with what I earn today, I cannot buy them all. It's impossible. So through banks, I borrow from my own future. And at what cost? I borrow $100 and have to pay back to the future in $300, $400, $500, or even more. So a time comes when the whole system is saturated. There is no more that banks can lend unless they receive the money back. And because the earning power is also adversely affected in periods of inflation. So it so often happens that while you are borrowing from the future, adding to your present earning, you are capable of earning more. But when you have to pay back through your nose, your earning power is also reduced. And what you have to pay is far more than what you receive. At such times, the economies collapse. It's impossible to maintain it. The industries are shut down. The big shopping centers come to a close. There is dullness everywhere. It can only be remedied by expanding your markets in the rest of the world. Because through the system, an internal market of the country is impossible to maintain the growth rate. This is also a scientific dialectic materialism. Marx did not look at that, but he rejected capitalism on the basis of usury, and perhaps that was the reason which he understood for rejecting capitalism in every form. But he is not the subject of today. I don't want to discuss him further. What I want to draw your attention to is that every time the economy reaches the final stage of collapse and crisis, the governments frantically make efforts to enlarge their foreign market. And the race ensues, which creates bitter jealousy. Erstwhile friends, erstwhile people belong to the same political group, are no longer trustworthy friends. Because politics is immoral. It is secular. Then the interest of the nation is supreme. Every other interest has to be sacrificed on the altar of personal interest. So when you search for foreign markets, and every economy, almost all economies suffer all at the same time, because the financial crisis in the world developed on a larger area than the area of the country. So what would follow would be a mad race for the capture of foreign markets. And if the foreign markets have themselves been impoverished so much that they cannot help your economies to sustain themselves, then the crisis will be doubly serious, and the situation may go out of hand sooner than what you fear. So the Third World War cannot be averted by any political jugglery. If anybody believes in this, I pity him. The hard facts which I have laid bare before you reject the concept of any political jugglery being able to establish world peace or justice and fair play in human affairs. It is the economy which will rule, which will dictate. And the politician, even if he is honest, will not be able to hold his position in his country because of the crime of his honesty. He will have to go. And dishonest people will be elected in place of the honest politicians who cannot compromise with their conscience. How then you can bring about the world peace? It is to this that the Holy Quran invites your attention. It says, call the world to the ways of Allah, to Allah's attributes. But when you do it, rectify yourself first. Don't issue a call in the name of God for bringing mankind back to God, while you are yourself away from God. Now look at the great pronouncements made by the presidents of big world powers, now and before. They always speak in good name. They always speak in world peace, in the terms of world peace, in the terms of justice. But are they just within their own countries? If the country itself is in peace, if it is in turmoil, if the crime is on the rampant, if peace is broken in every street, it is dashed to ground in every home, to make the tall claim of inviting people to peace, to God, would be just a hollow, meaningless claim, if not fraud. It is both. It's a meaningless claim and also a big fraud played upon the world. The first condition laid by the Holy Quran, before you are capable, you are entitled to call the world to God, that is to attributes of God, is to show those attributes in your own conduct, in your own behavior. Can that happen? This is the point. Can that happen today? Keeping the factors which I have just presented to you in the focus of your attention, then find an answer from your own self. This is not pessimism. For God's sake, don't misunderstand me. This is realist of the utmost form. There is something which is unavoidable, impossible to change the face of the earth without realizing the factors which I have just presented before you. So how could economy be reformed in the sense that your crisis is not transferred to the rest of the world? This is the first question which we must deal with. The problem lies not only in the system of capitalism, but also the children of capitalism, the mafias of money which are created in the process of capitalistic governments or capitalist economy. When money becomes everything, when materialism becomes your goal of life, when you can't see beyond, then your selfishness commands you more firmly than ever before.
then you do not care for values at all. When the mafias grow in the name of modern music, in the name of modern pursuits of pleasure, in this name and that name, and make you addicted to such false standards of life, which in reality the economies cannot sustain. This is another aspect of the problem. So coupled with what I have told you, this plays havoc with human peace and the havoc with the chances of human peace to be gained ever in future. These mafias are very powerful. They pervert taste intentionally so that their command, absolute command over that sector of economy becomes permanent. And having perverted the taste of the whole society to a level to which that society cannot reach as a whole, invites for crime, invites for disorder, invites for shattering of peace within your homes and your streets and your cities. This is what is happening to you, and why don't you see that? You're sitting on a moving platform which is moving towards the edge of the precipice, to the watershed. From there, once you reach it, there will be no return. For God's sake, open your eyes to these realities. Without returning to God, there is no hope for mankind whatsoever. Now the first criterion for the politician to be able to cope with these problems would be the criterion of his being able to call a spade a spade. A very simple criterion, very hard to meet with. When a politician knows that the raising of standards at a certain turn of the economy is impossible except at the cost of moral values, then he should lead the people back to those standards of life. It is not only possible, it is essential for your survival, for the survival of any economy. But a politician who declares that I will lower your standards of living to a substantial level which can be supported by the economy, that politician will be ousted from politics. That is again a dilemma, unfortunately. How tragic, but it is so. That politicians will be rejected because the tastes of people have become perverted and have been permitted to be made perverted. It is getting late for the politician to realize this, that when he permits these mafias of television and radio and the advertisement system, etc., he is fighting a cause against himself. He can never make the people see the light of the day. So he is riding a wave crest which is moving rapidly towards a catastrophe from which, as I said, it's impossible to return. The first advice I would render, according to the Quran, is return to the simplicity of life, to the reality of life. To fight out evil with the help of suhasana, which means goodness. To fight the evil of the society with a concept which is basically good. You tell them we must live to learn to live within our capacity. And we must learn to share the miseries of others with us. We must learn to share our happiness with others within the country. Unless we are ready to do that, it is impossible to change the international relationship between people and people. try it at your own homes first. Now, if you continue a war against evil unitedly, if all the political parties are united on this, that to gain selfish advantage out of this dilemma will be taboo, will be forbidden, and will all speak the same language, will fight our respective interests on other grounds, but not on the grounds of morality. If they are united and if they have courage and wisdom to be united on this issue, then there is a hope, there is a possibility that things will begin to change. And when I said that I want Canada to be the world and the world to be the Canada, it was in this sense that I said it, not in a generalized term of course. It's a compliment, but a compliment of a religious person who loves truth. It is not a hollow compliment just to please you with a phrase. What I meant and still mean is that in Canada I find a glimmer of hope. In Canada I find a glimmer of hope because I know even the politicians I say, are innocent. Deep inside. They want goodness. They are not mechanized. They are not totally formalized. There is still a sense of humanity underlying their attitudes, which is rare to see in politics. It is unique, in fact, in Canada. So with Canadian character, I hope to work, because here my community stands much better chances of making the Canadians see the realities of life the way I'm showing them, the way the Holy Quran has shown me, and to convince them that it is not a question of the message of the Quran, it is not a question of the message of Islam, it is a question of a message of God, which is universal, which you can testify within yourself that it is true. So first of all, as I said, be realistic, and that is truth. Truth is not just to bear witness that I saw someone doing this and saw someone not doing that. Truth is far deeper and far wider. It penetrates every sphere of human life, down into the roots of intention. So the truth is, as I said, in the simplest definition, to call a spade a spade. You should tell your people that it is impossible for us to rectify the economic wrongs without returning to low standards where we could commonly share our miseries with our citizens of our country, where we will try to extend our pleasures to others who cannot have them by themselves. And then the entire economic planning will have to be changed. And this lowering of standards is not a punishment, it is a pleasure. It's amazing what I'm saying, yet it is true. If you lower your standards for a good and just cause, you gain a sense of nobility. You feel within you a sense of nobility born, which is a reward for itself. And no better reward than that can be imagined. Why are prophets sacrificial throughout their life? Why do they waste the only lifespan which is offered to them here on earth by pursuing goodness at the cost of their own comfort and pleasure? Are they mad? Certainly not. The future proves that they were the wisest people of their age. What happened to Jesus Christ? All his life, he sacrificed every second, every moment of his pleasure for the sake of the mankind, and suffered at the hand of those whom he wanted to reform. He was not mad. He was not without ego. But his ego was of a higher nature. as a far more refined quality than the ego or the common man. When he suffered for the sake of goodness, he really had to, he really could enjoy that because the sense of nobility which was born with it was ample reward for his act of goodness and sacrifice. This is not true only in the case of Jesus Christ, it is true in the case of every prophet of God. Their madness can be analyzed only in these terms, that they see higher value than those who are lowly based, who seek pleasures in material gain, but do not know how to enjoy pleasure in sacrificing material gain for the sake of others. Every time such a bargain is made, the person who gives receives more pleasure than the person who receives. This is the basic lesson of human psychology, which is so often forgotten, unfortunately. Try to be good to others, and then you will know the pleasure of sacrifice. Why are the mothers so mad? They wake up all night for their suffering children and cry for them. If you invite that mother to sleep and admonish her, why are you wasting your time and your comfort for the sake of a child who will suffer anyway, whether you are awake or not? She will turn to you as if you are her bitterest enemy. What do you mean? What are you advising me? How can I wake while my child is, how can I sleep when my child is? But where is the reward? The reward of realization that she is suffering with her child. So to share suffering becomes pleasure of a very higher order, which cannot be imagined by people who are only engrossed in materialism. So return to these values who sustain you in hours of fire and hours of trouble. This is the only hope for mankind. Return to the basic human values, which are the values of God. This is the meaning that God has made you after himself, has shaped you after himself. The treasure is in your heart, accessible to you. But you don't delve deep enough to reach that treasure. So you have to become admonishers before you can become a good politician. You have to become realistic, a lover of truth, before you can ever hope to lead your people to emancipation from the problems which are riding them, which have made them their slaves. So this is the message: remove evil with the help of hasana, which is goodness. That is the only way that you can turn your enemies into your friends. A simple truth, but so sounds so profound, so powerful, that when ignored, you will be punished for that folly of yours. You can't ignore truth and yet not suffer. It's impossible. This is the beauty of truth. If you know the truth that the fire burns, and you discard this knowledge, and you disrespect this knowledge, and violate the principles of nature, and poke your finger into the fire, it will burn. No way can you escape. Only by acquiring some insulation, of course. But what is the sense of poking your fingers in the fire by insulating your fingers all around? Why not abstain from such folly? So the reality of truth is the most dominant reality, which can never be ignored without paying the cost for that ignorance. So this is my first message to you: return to the realities of life, understand what is happening to the country, you know that the wealth with which God has provided you is quite sufficient for the decent living of every Canadian and more. But we have to scale down to the reality. This is the point. It is as simple as that. To start a movement of reducing the artificial standards and returning to the normal base, which is economically viable and supportable. And then the economy will flourish from then on again. It's a natural law which cannot be avoided, cannot be ignored, because it again requires a longish explanation, but I'm not going to enter into that explanation. Believe me, when you return to truth and justice, it sends you back upward from where you had descended. It begins to support you to higher levels. An economy can only be made healthy when you diagnose the disease. And this is the disease which I have diagnosed before you. Once diagnosed, once you accept the message of that diagnosis, that is recipe for the trouble. Every diagnosis which is correct is in itself a recipe for cure. To understand the message and accept it with good grace, make a hard effort towards gaining this goal. And I assure you, you will rise as a unique country in the whole world. Then you will become immortal, not otherwise. Then you will become a paragon of virtue for the rest of the world to follow. And only then mankind could be retrieved from this utter mess it has let itself into. Once in Germany, I suggested that when economies are under pressure, when people are being laid off, this is a crime on the part of the society to lay off people. The only possible solution for such crisis is to reduce the payment to a level where all people who can work are provided work at a less standard of payment or less remunerations, whatever you call them. You pay for the labor at a lower rate, and all the available labor will be put into work. And you don't realize what a boon it would create for the economy. To begin with, everybody will share the suffering of low economy by reducing his standard of living. But in a country like Canada, even if the standards are lowered to many factors, still you can live decently. And if you live decently and bargain for your problems for the sake of a good cause, for the sake of nobility, then this experience will become so enjoyable. It will not be a punishment. And then your cheap labor will create a revolution in your economy. Then this system will build the economy itself. But it is not that for that reason that I invite you to this. I invite you for the reason which is totally unselfish. Return to God because that's the only way. There is no other option. And return to God with total submission. Return to that characteristic of God which is told, which informed you, of which you are informed by every religion in different terms. But the essence remains the same. God in Hinduism is as good as God elsewhere in the world. God of Christianity, God of Judaism, God of Islam. God is one. This is the meaning of unity of God. His beauty is one. It is universal, it's unchangeable. So without returning to beauty, how can you escape ugliness? Human crime, injustice, unequal treatment of man at the hands of man are just uglinesses. And the only solution which is viable, which is understandable, which is logical, is the solution to return to beauty. And to beauty, what beauty? If you conceive beauty with reference to your personal interest, then the beauty will change its definition everywhere in the world and it will no longer be beauty. The only reference point for correctly defining beauty is the reference point of God. And you know that. He's in you. He lives with you, within you. And you don't realize it. You do not have awareness and consciousness of living all your life with God, yet ignoring Him. Stop committing this crime. This is suicide. Return to these values. However difficult the task may appear to you, that's the only hope. So I leave the comments on the remaining part of the verse because it will consume a much bigger time. But let me consider it sufficient here that I have delivered the message. I think you know what I mean. And I hope you are convinced of the deep truth of what I am telling you. How to come across, I have also suggested a means. But that's not the only way. You can apply your mind, but first you must decide that you will be wedded to truth and you will never be divorced from that wedding. Remain adherent, remain loyal to truth. In whatever form you are loyal to truth, wherever you are loyal to truth, it will repay you. The truth always repays. So I hope you will awaken to these realities, and I hope, because I know that if there is a glimmer of hope in any politics to be reformed, that is here in Canada. If you do not rise up to the task, if you shun your responsibility here, then I'm afraid there can be no hope for the rest of your life. Allah bless you. Allah give you strength. Help you return to Him, and may the world return to peace through you. Allah bless you. Let's join in silent prayer before I depart, please. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.